just take a couple seconds for the stream to go live onto YouTube, and then we'll start the workshop. Awesome, so we're good to begin. Thank you everyone for joining. We have our special guests, Dain and Iain from Zora on their workshop, Make Your Own Zora Auction House in 15 minutes. Super excited to have them here and super excited for you guys to all learn more about Zora. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic off to Dain and feel free to start.
Oh, sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. Just a second. Hello? Hello?
Hey,
Yep.
There we go.
You're good. Yep.
Okay, cool. Hey, everybody. Yeah, so hi, I'm Dain. I'm a product engineer with Zora, and today I'm going to be showing off our Create Auction House template. So what is Zora? Zora is the NFT marketplace protocol. It's open, permissionless, free to use. At the protocol layer, we could probably think of it as a public good. We want to enable creators of all kinds to easily create their own markets and their own platforms. We came up with this Next.js template to help individuals stand up a permissionless auction house, and we've done numerous different ones with different NFT contracts, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to see people in the community build their own, but I wanted to run through this repo and yeah, just show you how to set something up. We're leveraging a couple of libraries that we've authored to help display and interact with NFTs. So we have NFT components and NFT hooks, which Iain is going to talk about after I run through this demo. Yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to get started. Let me clear out my screen and find my windows. So I'm going to go here to our Create Auction House repo, and we have this set up to simply fork as a template. So I'll click this button, and I'm going to call this OOBK House. I created a custom contract with some artwork that my kid made and made a bunch of NFTs. So I'm going to stand an auction house up for him, maybe help pay for his college tuition. Although this is on Link B, so so here we go. And I'll just call this a permissionless auction house. And I'll make it public so we can refer to it afterwards. So we're creating the repo, and there we go. So I'm gonna get going with this. I'm gonna clone it. Oops. And I will run yarn to install all my dependencies. Meanwhile, I'm gonna come over here, get my token contract, and I'll open this up in my code editor. Yes, I trust myself. So here we go. Now, we've included a helpful script that will just help you sort of bootstrap and get all the envelope variables set up for what you need to display and work with this template. So I go type in yarn setup, and I have like a little prompt script. So I'll just call this OBK house. Leave the default description. I'm going to leave the mainnet contract. We're not going to work in mainnet. We're just going to work in Rinkeby, and I'm going to leave that as the Zora contract. And I'm going to paste in my, whoops, Oops, sorry about that. Well, hold on. What? And I'm going to work with RankB as my default network for now. So there we go. Now I'm going to spin it up. And I will go over here to localhost 3000. And voila, there you have it. So this in its simplest form is a auction house that we can then deploy to Vercel. It's our deployment platform of choice. It's the most frictionless, and we can go ahead and yeah, get auctions going. So I can see that there's already an auction running on this token, and yeah, so if I want to list another, what I can do is sign in with my wallet, and it will show me all of the NFTs that I own. And we've included some additional components to help you manage auctions. So click list here, set a reserve price, confirm the transaction, transactions pending. As we all know, things take a little bit longer with the blockchain. So these changes will be reflected within about a minute. And then if I go back to my landing page, I can check back and see that the auction will be running. So this is all fine and dandy. It's pretty cool that you can just get this up and running like super quick. But what if we want to do more with it? And I really think that this is like the foundation for a lot of different possible projects. So, and that was our goal with this template, is that we could get people up and running, operating on our protocol, and then see what they do with it. So it's kind of like the sky's the limit, right? Well, there we go. We've got another auction running. So the next thing I'll do is talk about how we can customize a little bit. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of a feature of NFT components, which is sort of allowing you to use all of the individual elements that you see here and compose them in different ways. And also I'll be adding a custom internal bid flow into this. So I'm going to jump back over to my code base, and we can see that we've got our pages here, and in the individual token page, right now we're using this NFT full page component. We're passing arguments. We're using our own indexer. We're passing a contract, and then we're passing a token ID into the component. So what I'm going to do here is do a little quick copy and paste, and show you how to get a little more flexible with this. So I've got a repo that I've been working in, and so I'm just going to quickly copy and paste this stuff over. So just give me a second here. So first thing I'm going to do is look at NFT components, and I am going to add full components, which will expose the individual sort of layout elements. I'm going to then go ahead and paste in this chunk of code. And I need to include the auction manager from our manage auction hooks, which will allow us to do an internal bid flow. Just need to update a couple of items here. And bear with me for a second. Have a couple more components that I need to drop in. And fingers crossed this will work. I have a little bid button that I built out, and I am just going to set it up like this. And what's the issue here? Sorry, bear with me for a second.
I think you missed the, yep, perfect.
Yep, my bad. Okay, so, whoops. And we're missing a couple other things. Okay, coding in real time. Oops.
It looks like that's coming from the manage auction button.
Yeah. Sorry, bear with me for a second. And
If anyone has questions in the meantime, more than happy to answer them. Just working on rewriting dependency trees.
sorry. Yep.
This is what they don't show you in the movies.
Yeah, this is some little copy pasta. Yeah. Also, you know, maybe what we could do is take a break, and I can get this all polished up. And I don't know, Iain, I could pass it over to you if you want to talk a little bit more about these NFT components and NFT hooks. That sounds like
Sure.
a good idea.
Yeah,
and then
we
we'll circle
didn't
back.
promise you could customize the auction house in 15 minutes. We promised that you could get it up and running. So I think we're staying true to that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me answer a question from Yacht. What's the biggest benefit of building on Zora? Well, one of the things is we allow you to do whatever you want in terms of user interface, and you own the entire website. So you're not tied to using Zora specifically. And we also have like the earlier version or current version of the protocol allows for no fee transactions on auctions, and we provide kind of all the tools to get you up and running. So instead of saying, oh, you need to link to our website or use our flows, you can continue using this auction house as long as you want. We're not going to ever take it down. We don't have the ability to take it down, and these templates allow you to have full ownership of that. A hack on the protocol. That's a great question. So a lot of things you can do around the auction process. Some things are clever forks. Some people have written splits or other features that they find interesting within the auction. So an example of using the protocol is the nouns protocol actually modified the Zora Auction House to do a daily auction every single day. And that's a hack where it's taking the code and modifying a little bit, or you can write contracts around it. So somebody took some contracts written from Zora called NFT editions, and they added splits, and they also made it work with the auction house where the editions created an auction right away. And those have been living on the Zora platform. So instead of necessarily just like rewriting the Zora code, you can write custom code around it that kind of integrates it to your project or your idea. Another thing you can simply do is work with the Zora Z NFT media and kind of add extensions onto those as well, which are our original version of the protocol. All right, I can hand it back off to Dain.
Sorry about that little hiccup. Okay, so we've got our bid button in here. Fingers crossed it works. And yeah, we said we could help you stand it up, but I just really was itching to show some customization. So here we go. I need to disconnect my wallet, and I'm going to sign in with a different wallet to
Rinkby well
place
right
this bit. Yeah, Rinkby lifestyle. I think it's pretty fun. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my wallet, and I'll connect to this other account. And I don't own any of these NFTs.
That's a great question, Tippy. So we'll go through how to use these with just React without Next.js, but the template using Next.js allows for server-side rendering and a bunch of easy like built-in features that we'll go through with the configuration and deployment side of things.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and place a bid, and I'll just bid it up pretty high. And I just wanted to sort of also speak to the fact that, you know, seeing that this isn't, we are operating in Rinkby, it's a great environment to really test out ideas, and I think that like that will help, you know, anybody sort of build some really interesting things without the pressure of operating on mainnet. Okay,
and the template's a little rough around the edges because we expect people to kind of use it as a starting plate to customize and restyle everything.
Yeah, and we've included some sort of patterns and ideas to help you get started, stylizing and theming the template. But again, we didn't want to be too overly opinionated on how things look, because the idea is that we really want individuals to tell their story and represent what they're working on in a way that is closest to their brand identity, whatever. So there you go. Placed a bid, the auction. I'm now the top bidder, and it's as simple as that. So we've gone from simply just cloning the repo template, starting up pulling it locally, and then and getting it started on your local environment. Now I'm going to take a minute to deploy it on Vercel. So while I'm doing that, I don't know, Iain, if you want to answer questions, or if you have any other things that you want to speak to, I could stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, I would love to go through a little bit of the back end of how this works and why someone might want to do this. So let me just share my browser really quick. So one of the things that is a benefit of building on top of the Zora protocol is that you get your auctions cross-listed on Zora.co. We're working on it very soon. So you get your auctions listed on Zora.co. So here we have this listing that's on the main Zora site. but you also just saw the auction house that Dain listed this on. So you have a completely separate experience from Zora. The user doesn't even need to know what's happening on Zora, but your auctions also get listed on Zora as a part of using our auction house. We pull in all that data and show the auction experience to any users on our site. And how this works under the hood is it actually uses two different components. So if you look in the package JSON, the main components it includes are Zora Labs NFT component, Zora Labs NFT hooks, Zora Labs manage auction hooks. So it's really a wrapper around all these other packages that handle the internals of building the auction house. And when Dain was talking about changing the full page view, so if we were to go to components, auctions list, you can see that the NFT preview component is imported straight from Zora Labs NFT components, and it's just listed as NFT preview here. That takes in the ID of the token and the token contract address, and has all these other configuration options. NFT components is where all of these are configured, and if you don't want to use Next, or you don't want to use this template, or if you're just doing a blog and you want to embed NFTs and allow people to bid, or even just let people see NFTs, if you can use the components directly. And here's the full documentation on those components. So you see all this stuff load, and you can see the components being used in custom context. So here's an auction house list that lists all auctions created or owned by a user. And then here is an audio NFT that's loading from Zora. And we can take a look to view this on Zora. And then we can view this in our own site. So if you want to adjust these options, you can pick and choose the parts of the different components. That was what Dain was just doing. Now, if you don't want to use React, or you already have your own UI and you want to inject different components into the website, you can use NFT hooks directly. And what NFT hooks does is you can use the use NFT hook to retrieve all of this information about the current auction as a JSON object from the NFT, and it handles all the fetching and data loading for you. All you need to pass in is the contract address and token ID. And then we also have a handy hook that uses the Zora indexer that allows you to query for specific collections. Let me make the text a little bit bigger. That allows you to query for specific collections. You can specify a curator. That's shown. What a curator is and how that works is documented in the auction house documentation. If the auction is approved, it goes along with curator. And then if you only want to show auctions, or you want to show NFTs that don't have current auctions for them, or I could create an auction house that allows anyone to see everything I own. And if there's an active auction, it'll just render that auction. So I could use that if I wanted to make a personal gallery. And since we're in the hooks world, we can use this hook to kind of find all those lists. Okay, you can find the hook to get those lists and then render them with the components, or even render them with the hooks with your own custom UX. I think Dain might want to share in a second. Are you ready?
Not yet.
Okay, so let me answer some questions because I've seen questions streaming in. So will it work with an auction house smart contract I deployed myself? Yes and no. There's a constant that you would need to set up a subgraph to index that auction house smart contract on your own. And we have the subgraph open source, so you'd have to deploy your own subgraph. And then in the templates, you would go and change the constant where the auction house is expected. So in NFT hooks, in the source folder, there's a constants file, and then there's a URLs, and you would just change out the URL for the graph API by network. So right now we have Polygon, Mumbai, RinkB, and mainnet setup. You could switch that out with your own URL. And then the other part is the manage auction hooks. You would need to go and change the contract address that these hooks expect. And as long as you keep the ABI expected to be the same, you can do that and deploy your own auction house. But if you're limited on time, it's not a great idea if you want to have all this work out of the box. I would recommend you use the one that's currently out, start testing, and then once you get that working, deploy whatever changes you want to make, and then switch over all the different parts of the code. And it's in here. You can configure the auction house address. I believe there's a place to configure the auction house address. You might have to search the code or just message us in the developer channel. Are there buy now options? Not yet, but very soon we're going to integrate some buy now options potentially. The question's been answered. Did you show what the UI looks like on the seller side and how they uploaded the NFT? So the template is only for selling. We kind of leave the minting and uploading up to the user. And the list flow that Dain showed is included. So the idea is the user already has minted the NFT, and you can include that in your, you can include the minted NFTs in your list flow, and you can even add a page to mint next to the list flow. So that one's kind of up to you. This is just a template for selling. It's not for minting yet. Can I use my own indexer with Zora? I don't know. Soon. So I'm working on a refactor right now of how NFT hooks works. It's a little bit tied to really specific data structures, but you can go, if you just want to use components with your own indexer, there's a underlying tool that allows you to inject custom objects. So in NFT data provider, you can specify a custom initial data. And as long as you match the JSON response type that this expects for the NFT, you can then just use the components with the data provider and then just link in all the components, and it would fetch the data and display it as desired. However, you do need to match that NFT object that it's expecting. And the code for that is in the hooks. So the easiest way to make it work with a custom indexer would be to add a new fetcher. Right now, supported indexers are OpenSea, Zora, the Zora indexer, and the Zora graph indexer. So you would just go through the code, kind of figure out how that's written, and then write in a new indexer and create a new hook that exposes that indexer. All right, I think we're getting close to time. Does anyone have any more questions for Dain or myself? We're going to publish a link to the finalized auction house on Rinky that you can play with. And also we'll have a way for you to view the source code. It's public.
Yeah, so the repo and a URL will be posted in the notes shortly. Any other questions?
Pretty amazed. Without the customizations, we really did get the auction house done in 15 minutes. So from template on GitHub to working auction house example. Just gonna pull up the auction house repo on GitHub and call it a day. The NFT does have to be minted already, but we actually have a tool called the ZDK. And the ZDK allows for really easy minting. So you could theoretically mint through the ZDK and then sell on the auction house, but you're going to have to wire those up together. The auction house is just for sales. And typically minting flows are just one call. Like a lot of people that mint have like a template that fills in a bunch of custom things or has custom settings, and it's really only one API call. So for instance, we have a bunch of auction houses like the Punk's house, and then we also have an Apes house. And these kind of work with customized examples of rug store.exchange. So these are all customized auction houses for pre-existing mint contracts. So if you're creating an NFT that someone can mint and you want to create a marketplace for that, all you need to do is pull in the components or pull in the auction house template that creates a third-party page. Yeah, so you can mint using a third party, like Third Web, Mirror, however you want to mint, and put it on Zora. However, Zora doesn't allow for using 1155s, and also we are fully on-chain protocol and permissionless, which means anyone can use our tools and our code. However, they have to commit all their changes on chain. And that means that lazy minting is just not supported with that philosophy. However, we're working on getting support for Polygon, and there's code that I've been working on which ports the auction house onto Polygon, so you can get the on-chainness, but also you can get lower transaction fees for creating a Polygon auction house, and that'll be more production ready very soon. And you can also just use these components to display NFTs without any market, and you can include custom markets, or you can include however you want. It's as flexible as you need it to be. All of our documentation is shown on docs.zora.co. And if you have any other issues or questions, the easiest place to reach us on the developer side is through the Zora Discord. So I think we're pretty much at time. Yeah, I don't see any more questions.
Awesome. That was super interesting, super cool. Thank you both, Dain and Iain, for taking your time to present this workshop to our hackers. And thank you for being a part of NFT Hack 2022. For the rest of you, thank you so much for tuning into the Zora workshop. We have a couple more workshops today. Otherwise, get started on your projects, and we're so excited to see them on Sunday. And have a great rest of your day, everyone.